Welcome to the Catbird Quilts. I'm Kathy Martin, and in today's video, I want to talk about Christmas in July. So the colors, the fabrics, the patterns, and a project of my own that I'm working on, and I have a lot to say about it. So stay with me. True confession, I have never understood Christmas in July. And I might even go on as far to say, didn't want to, didn't get it, not into it, don't care. And then I became a quilter. And now I get it. And it's funny because I live in the South and I'm married to someone who does not like the heat. And so starting mid-June, middle of July, Paul starts saying, "Oh, I'm ready for Christmas." And he could watch White Christmas once a month, every month of the year. So I have people in my life who love the Christmas, and I do love it, but July is not when I'm thinking about it. However, you may notice that I have this joy on my table. I noticed as I was walking through our den the other day that apparently there's some part of me that wants to have Christmas all year round, because this, which is part of our Christmas decor, is still out along with a collection of Christmas bells all across the bookcase. So there's some part of me that wants to have Christmas all year long. But specifically with quilting, quilting is slow. Quilting is slow. It takes time to put a quilt together, like months time, unless you have all the time in the world and all the money in the world, and have a vision that you can put together really quick. Usually it takes several months to get a quilt from conception to completion with binding and tags and all that kind of stuff, which means that if you want a quilt done in December for a gift or for yourself, you better start thinking about it. If you've been with me, you may remember I started a quilt for Christmas in November of last year. And my goodness, that is ridiculous. I had been jonesing to make the eyelet lace quilt from Kindred Quilt Company, Christina from Kindred Quilt Company. It's behind me now. I had just been wanting to make it, and it got to November and I had wrapped up a couple of other projects, and I remarked on Instagram that I really wanted to start it, and of course got lots of encouragement to take it on, and then had everything under the sun happen in November and December of last year, and needless to say, it did not get done. And then got into the new year and was working on it pretty feverishly. And then I got to the place where I was going to put it together and just lost all energy for it. No creative mojo. I lost my sojo for a hot minute. And lots of encouragement from you guys saying, you don't need it until Christmas of next year. Don't worry about it the times that I've referenced it. Lots of friends are like, why are you worried about this? Christmas is many months away. Well, we're now many months in to the year. And the other day I was like, okay, I need to finish this quilt top. So I did. And I have to look at it. I'm very pleased. If I had it to do again, just side note, I would put the red and the green next to each other instead of separated by the blue. But that's neither here nor there. I have been on Instagram, as you know, and it's where I get a lot of inspiration, and people are coming out, fabric houses, they're not people. Moda, Robert Kaufman, all of these fabric houses are starting to release their Christmas fabrics. And so lots of Christmas in July sorts of sales and all that good stuff. I have to also confess, I guess this is going to be confessional. I don't love a lot of Christmas patterns that are out there. They can go cutesy kitschy really quickly and easily. And if that's your shtick, that's fantastic. There's no judgment there. It's just not my style. So gnomes are cute, but I don't want to quilt with gnomes all over it. And I like Santa Claus, but I don't want Santa Claus faces on my quilt. I guess I like patterns that maybe don't look like Christmas. That makes no sense. But maybe that's why I took a pattern that was not intended for Christmas and I put Christmas colors in it. So that's a lot of what I want to talk about today. Starting with patterns, there are some really great patterns out there that are maybe not specifically Christmas patterns, but if paired with the right fabrics, can very much have a Christmas feel to them. I think top of the list for me is Modern Handcraft. Nicole at Modern Handcraft. She has a very modern style, and she has 3 quilt patterns, only one of which I would say is kind of holiday. It's not even really holiday. So she has a quilt pattern called Snowflake that you could make 100 different ways and every one of them be beautiful. She has another quilt pattern called Beads, which when I saw it looked to me like a cranberry garland on a Christmas tree or maybe ornaments. And then she has a third quilt pattern called Asterisks, which looks like those twinkly stars that you see in Christmas decor. Snowflake is arguably holiday, but the other 2 are not. But it would be so easy to convert them into holiday quilt patterns just by choosing fabrics and colors that fit your holiday decor or the holiday decor of the person you're making it for. So that's a good example. Another one that I have loved and really just need to buckle down and make, along with my other 18 million whips, is a pattern called Knitted Star by Lo and Behold Stitchery. It is just lovely. And I've seen it made in 2 tones. So you could do red with white, gray with white, green with white, and it would just be absolutely gorgeous. But you could also use all of your holiday colors in it and reverse it, and it would be gorgeous too. So that's another great one. I recently, and by recently, last night, I don't really know how I found this quilt pattern. It's called Big Tree by Denise Schmidt, and it is exactly what it sounds. It's just a huge triangular Christmas tree, fills up the whole quilt. That's essentially jelly roll strips or, 2.5-inch binding strips. And depending on how you work that could be just really, now it's very modern. So if you're a traditional Christmas tree or traditional quilt, that one may not be for you, but I thought it was just great. And then of course there's the eyelet lace quilt behind me and the 1,000 other or million other quilt patterns that all it needs is just a Christmas color palette to really make it beautiful. So as you're considering your Christmas quilting, you're not limited by Christmas quilt patterns. Just really it's more your creativity our creativity with colors and fabrics, which brings me to the topic of fabric. So let's talk about that. And I'm going to get out a bunch of stuff to show you. So I have a lot of fabric here. And most of these are shirts. And that's my thing. I love the men's shirt fabric. And I find all kinds of interesting shirts at the thrift store. Right now, if you watched my last thrift haul and the one before that, there is a ton of flannel out there in the thrift stores right now. 4 or 5 thrift stores I've been to. Lots of plaid flannel, which are fantastic for Christmas and holiday quilts. I think it was 2 years ago, red buffalo plaid was the Christmas trend. And if you like a good buffalo plaid, they are out there in thrift stores. And so it would not be hard to take those flannels and plaids of every kind and make your Christmas quilt out of it. And it's so affordable because you're getting a yard or more of usable fabric, often for, just a huge reduction cost-wise rather than going to the fabric store. And of course, depends on where you live. And unfortunately, you guys in the UK have some high charity shop prices. Same in Australia, your op shops are not as cheap, but they're still cheaper than the fabric in the quilt store. If you're really wanting to make a Christmas quilt and you're wanting to do it affordably, the thrift store may be the place to go. So I want to show you some of my thrift store finds. These are the exact fabrics of the quilt behind me. And when I found this gigantic red gingham shirt, I just saw it and thought, oh, that just looks like Christmas, even though it's actually fairly lightweight fabric. Same with this kind of dark green, foresty green. And I had them on my table and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks like Christmas. And all 4 of these are shirts. So if you didn't know any better, you would think I went to the fabric store and bought these fabrics. I had them from the thrift store. If that's not Christmas, I don't know what is. So again, that's the fabric of the quilt top behind me. I could have gone this route. This is a fat quarter of a fabric bundle that Paul got for me for my birthday last year. And then this is another smaller gingham that's a little more Christmassy green, that kind of Kelly green, but that, would have actually gone very well with this as well. So it may be that you find a shirt that you really love that kind of totally can feel Christmas, and then you just have a solid fabric in your stash to put with it. It can go the other way around too. This is a print fat quarter that I got. Call it the candy aisle, from the candy aisle at the fabric store. It's not Christmas. It's just red with white kind of little boxes with X's in them. If you're thinking of it in the context of Christmas, that's like the perfect fabric. And this is a shirt that I have cut up. I'll show you that in a minute. And this is a shirt. And so, look at that. That's just a wonderful pairing right there. Not exact and not too matchy, but definitely could work in a Christmas themed pattern. And then while we're talking about that, the whole fabric, Christmas fabric, and really fabric lines in general, I love them. I can get into love of Ruby Star Society with the best of them. Some of you are K-Facet lovers. There are lots of fabric lines that are really, really beautiful. But you may have noticed, I have noticed, that Christmas fabrics have trends just like clothes have trends, and Christmas decor, it's trendy. So for example, I had a gnome fabric that was it's that color palette that I love. And as I'm saying this, I'm realizing I'm about to reference what I'm wearing and the wall color that I've chosen. But this kind of turquoisey light seafoam blue together with red is just a really fun color combination. And so it was these little gnomes with that color background and red hats, and just the cutest fabric. And in 10 years, I'll go, oh, that was the Christmas of 2022, because that was the color palette. That's the Christmas topic, gnomes. Sometimes those specialty fabrics can date themselves. Now, there are some fabrics that will always be in style, anything with snowflakes, anything with Christmas lights. But because there is that constantly shifting, color palette of the year, if you do use your specialty fabrics, or novelty fabrics, a lot of times people will be able to tell the year that you made that quilt, which maybe that's a great thing. Segue takes me into talking about Christmas and colors. So I actually looked up Christmas color trends for 2023. And every time I do that usually once a year. It makes me laugh because really they could say all of the colors, all of the pairings are the trends, because it was like luxe fabrics and luxury metallics. And I'm like, well, that's every year. Gold and silver and metallic red and metallic green. But sometimes those trends do sort out. I have put together some fabrics and colors. This one is not this year's trend, but it was trendy a few years ago, which is a lighter green and a really vibrant red. And as you know, on the color wheel, green and red are opposite each other. And so if you choose a light value and a bright vibrant in the other, a lot of times it gives it some interest. So even though when we think Christmas, a lot of times it's this, which is beautiful and fun and Christmassy, but this can be a Christmas pairing as well. It's just really all in what you put with it. With that in mind, I pulled out some fabrics. This one is more just a don't forget about your plaids and your solid shirts. Look at those threads. And your low volume shirts that you can find in the thrift store. So this white shirt, I hope you can see the print on it. It is just this lovely little, it's almost like cross stitch. And it's in a charcoal gray on white. And it would be such a wonderful pairing with really any color palette. So if you're wanting to do something interesting with your Christmas quilts that has white, but you don't want to commit to stark white, although tons of white men's shirts in the thrift store. This one and ones like it that you can find. So there's a lot of low volume men's shirts on white that you can find. This tartan is, and Paul has said a number of times that it reminds him of 70s Christmas gift wrap. And we will get to that in just a minute. But that's another one that when you see it, it's kind of like, it's very bright, but it reads Christmassy. It just does. And there are lots of plaids out there that you will see them, dark greens, navies, that buffalo plaid, this tartan, and think, oh, that's reminds me of Christmas. Great time to get them and go on and start on your Christmas quilt. And then this is a red shirt that I bought at the thrift store for $1.99. I don't think I could find a better red if I was looking for it. I just happened to stumble on it. It's actually like the shirt I'm wearing, which red is my favorite color. So there is that. But so that's an example of fabrics that you can find kind of in that standard Christmas color palette. Another one that, and these are both shirts, a lot of navy in the Christmas quilt community. It makes a great background. It usually will set off other colors. This one happens to have little green polka dots on it. This blue over here has red. Oh, I didn't do that on purpose. Green polka dots on one side, red polka dots on the other side. The light blue, icy blue is a really good addition to, I think, most Christmas color palettes. Which was kind of my intention with the quilt behind me. I went a little bit darker than the real icy blue, which is supposed to be one of the Christmas trends of 2023. But you could see how that paired with the red, actually all of those, would be so pretty together. Another trend supposedly is pastels for 2023. And I pulled these fabrics actually before I looked up the trends. And I had pulled these pinks because I remember sometime in the past, I started to try to pull out a year or a decade, and I don't remember which one it was, when I went to a department store and they had pink and green for all of their Christmas decor. And it was like someone had opened a portal into a magical world. I had never considered. Of course, now that's like, well, yeah. But in 1997 or whenever it was, I had never considered pink for Christmas decorations or pastels for Christmas decorations. We just were always red and green people, red and green and gold people. And it was so gorgeous and, just kind of blown away. I have always had that in the back of my mind. We're not pink people in our decor, but these fabrics, well, this gingham is not shirt fabrics, but these are pajamas, this stripe. This was a shirt. This is a pink Oxford shirt. And this is a seersucker jacket that someone sent me, a YouTube viewer sent me. And look at that. Look how pretty that is together. And you could see how that, depending on what quilt pattern you pick, that could be so pretty and fun. And it's trending for 2023. So pastels and kind of that, I think someone said it was like fairy dust or something. So that's an idea, and you would be surprised. Now, maybe not in the heart of the Midwest. You guys don't wear your men don't wear a lot of pink shirts there. But down here in the South, our men wear pink. But these were pajamas. So keep that in mind when you're shopping. Another trend this year is ocean theme. So shells and when you have ocean theme, that is your turquoise aqua family. This is a pillowcase. This is a men's shirt. And actually the design on this pillowcase kind of reads Christmassy to me. It almost has that like ornament meets snowflake feel. So don't write off your blues, and so your icy blues and your turquoise blues. And in this case, this is a pillowcase. In this case, wah, wah, wah. That was not intended. But in this pillowcase, it's it's a great color. And again, I say, if you wanted to red it up a little bit with the, bright red, look how pretty that is. Gosh, that would make a gorgeous Christmas quilt. But if you went the shell route, you could also do peaches or tans, and there are lots of tan shirts out there. So that's an option. And then the last one was lavender, which I also like, and it pairs really, really well with gray. So I want to show you these. We have seen this shirt excessively on this channel, but I keep using it because it's so pretty. This is a shirt. This is a shirt. This is one of those AGF solids. This is an Oxford shirt that the purple in it is actually dark, but because it's been woven together with the white, it kind of reads light purple. This herringbone shirt was a shirt. Now it's fabric for me. Has a sheen on it. And so if you wanted to go that metallic route without going down the fabric that has glitter on it or metallic paint, which will certainly over time wear down, you can go, if you can find a cotton sateen or a herringbone that has a kind of sheen on it, I wouldn't say that it reads metallic, but it definitely is in that family. And then this is a shirt that I found that to me it almost reminds me of a birch tree. It's gray, but it has that, I don't know, just something about it reminds me of a birch. And so that you could go this route, or you could go this route, because gray and lavender are a really nice pairing. So I show you that not to say don't go buy novelty fabric, because Christmas novelty fabric is really fun. But just to remind you that there are options out there at your thrift store. P.S. There are plenty of Christmas PJs and Christmas shirts out there as well. But you can do a lot with thrift store fabric that you would never anticipate, and maybe not have to spend what you would on a new Christmas fabric line. Which brings me to the next topic. So I finished the quilt top behind me, and I, of course, have to turn my attention to the backing, which quilt backs, I'm kind of all about the quilt backs right now, which if you've been watching my channel, I just did a whole video on it. So clearly it's on my radar. But I want to show you the quilt back that I'm in the process of working on for the eyelet lace quilt. it was probably the inspiration for all of this, how this came to be. So let me get it out and we'll talk about it. So this fabric with Santas all over it is a shirt, or was a shirt. It is a men's shirt. It was actually denim and flower. I found it at the thrift store and laughed out loud in the thrift store because they're the funniest little Santa Clauses. And I bought it without a plan for it, just like I have to have that shirt. And I am so glad because now I have this fun Christmas print that I got at the thrift store. Did not have to, really go to the fabric store and search. Originally, I thought that I was going to fussy cut the Santas out of it and do little pieces with Santas everywhere. And as I got kind of finished up the quilt top and was trying to think through the quilt backing, I thought, maybe I could use it on the back. And in the process of having that thought process, I was talking to Paul about the whole back, and had this idea that maybe I could do like really big Christmas presents on the back of the quilt. And he said, well, if you're going to do that, you may as well go whole hog and use that tartan, that Christmas plaid that I say looks like 70s Christmas wrapping paper. And so I did. So here's that plaid, and I picked a white fabric. This is that herringbone. It's almost identical to the kind of gray silver. It's got a little bit of a sheen on it. And so that's the ribbon. And then here's the present. Once I kind of committed to that in my mind, then the Santa Claus was a slam dunk. So now, and we can go back to that to show you that. Originally, I had the idea that I would do different color sashing, like different ribbons. But in the end, I decided it would look cleaner and have a more dramatic look if they all had the same ribbon. So same ribbon of sashing, Santa Claus on the back, another present with him all over it, which just gives me joy. I had the idea that I would do a yellow present, kind of to tie in that little bell, and all of my efforts got nixed by various family members. I had a yellow gingham with lollipops that Paul just could not tolerate, which I loved. That didn't happen a lot. We often have similar thoughts. Now you have to go, well, what are the others? So there's going to be four presents on the back with this gray around the edge. So let me show you the next one. So here's present number 3 on the back. This fabric, I loved this shirt and I bought it, even though the fabric was exceedingly thin, like almost see-through. But I loved the color and it actually reminded me of Christmas. I bought it at the same time at the same thrift store with the Santa Claus fabric. And some of you have asked if I ever put interfacing on my pieces, my fabric that's very thin. In this case, I did do exactly that. So I did a featherweight fusible interfacing, and I interfaced I made the whole present, the whole gift, and then I interfaced the back of it, because since it is going to be on the quilt back, when it is quilted, if I didn't do that, it was so thin, I was very concerned that it would pull and get distorted. And this is one of those cases where yes, it's on the back of the quilt, but I don't want it to lose the shape of that square Christmas present. So I interfaced it because I suspect I'm going to have this long arm quilted. I just don't see quilting this quilt in my future. It's pretty big. It's 84 by 84. And I just didn't see myself quilting it. So the whole spray adhesive and putting lots and lots of pins, I just couldn't face it. So I interfaced the back. So do I do that? Yes, but not often. And then, as I said, I was looking for a yellow and just could not find it. And my colorist, my younger daughter, went with me to actually 2 separate fabric stores. And she said, what about black? And I completely poo-pooed that idea. She loves black. She could be Wednesday Addams. Like, it's not festive. It's not, I kind of gave all these things. And then we went to the fabric store and found this loveliness right here. And kind of in that same thought process of you don't have to buy Christmas quilt patterns for it to look Christmassy. You don't have to buy Christmas fabric for it to look Christmassy. So definitely Santa Claus, super Christmas fabric. This is obviously just black with like confetti dots all over it. But somehow it feels festive and holiday. Her in defense of this fabric, she said, it's like New Year's, Mom. And it kind of is like New Year's. But honestly, it could be it could be Christmas wrapping paper. And that's the look. That's what I'm going for right there. So there's the 4. And because I had 2 medium values and one dark value, another dark value on the opposite corner, it just kind of frames it in nicely. So we have 4 presents, 4 gifts on the back, 3 out of 4 thrift store shirts. This black one was actually one of those on sale, and the whole piece ended up being $1.63, which never happens, but that was really fun. So now I have to finish up the other border on the other side, and then I'll have my quilt top, my quilt backing, and then if you're just curious, the binding is something super fun, and I want to show it to you. So that striped shirt that I showed you, that I got from the thrift store, it was a XXL tall in this, it's a candy cane stripe basically. And so I'm in the process of sewing it together, and I will have this nifty little red stripe binding all the way around, and just to cap it off like, hey, just in case you didn't know this is a Christmas quilt, in case you missed the message, here's some candy cane stripes around the whole thing just to make sure it's nice and clear. So I'm suddenly really excited about it. I'm glad I put it away for a while, but it was just time to pull it back out, and I'm glad. And so now I'm experiencing a happy Christmas in July, Merry Christmas in July for the first time ever. And with a little luck, I'll get this done before December. So I hope this has been helpful for you, just an encouragement to you that if you're one of those people who are quilting on a budget, if you've gotten the bug to make a Christmas quilt in July, you don't have to get a Christmas pattern. You don't necessarily have to buy Christmas fabric. There's a lot that can be found at your local thrift store. I'm Kathy Martin. This is the Catbird Quilts. Thanks for watching.